Hello, welcome back. This is Jeff Byers and this is Andy255 and this is Module 7. This is part 2 of our milk simulation. We just finished getting our scene set up. So we have all our high poly pieces in here. I'm not going to texture anything. I put a blend material on these two, and what I'll do is I'll just put a blend material on the table really quick. I'm not going to keep it because I'm going to texture this appropriately using UVs. We're going to use materials on the glass, and we're going to use a AI standard material on all of these, but the only thing I'm going to actually lay out the UVs on is the table, and this, I don't have the legs on here yet, but I will. So right now just go to Maya and just add a blend material to that, and you can color it any color you want. I'll just do a brown so the particles will actually look good against it. It'll be kind of a contrasty color there. There we go. So there we have it. There's our scene ready to go. We have our picture, we have our glass. So all we need to do now is to make sure we have our picture in the right place. Okay, so what I found, okay, we need to make sure we center pivot everything so we can pour the picture. We're going to lift the picture up. We're going to simulate the picture going up. Okay, and I'm just practicing this. I'm going to go into the attribute editor here, in the channel editor, and just practice where I need to be with this to pour this out to get at a nice angle here, like that. Okay, so something like that and something like that. So let's go up. So I'm just practicing this. I'm going to write this down. And I highly recommend that you don't want that to be right up to here because it'll overshoot. The particles will fly out and hit this, and we don't want to spill the milk. That's the whole idea about the simulations. We get that in there just right. So I'm going to pull that away, something like that. That'll work really good, I think. And that gives us enough angle here that the milk will fall or pour out. Okay, we'll try that. So I'm going to write these numbers down. So translate x, I'll just put x equals negative 0.59, and translate y is 5.172, and then rotate z is 90.719. Okay, we'll give that a shot and see if that works. And so what I'll do is I'll just put that as 0. So what we'll do is we'll have it animate up to this point. Okay, you see the numbers here that I've already written down, from 0 to 60, excuse me, 0 to 30, and then from 30 to, so give it a second to go up, and then we'll let it sit there, and then we'll animate the rest of it. So it's not going to be a big deal. So once we get everything simulated, it should be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this down, type in 0 on these, so we're back to where we were. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do our simulation now. Everything's set up exactly where I want it. Okay, so we probably want to do the negative 0.59 on here. So negative 0.59. Okay, that means it brought it a little closer to the glass. That's what I had before. Now I'm going to go ahead and set that key at this point. So just set the key for that one. So that's good. So set the key at 1 on there. So that is keyframed. It's going to keyframe throughout the whole thing, so the whole simulation. So that's our first key, and what we're going to do now is we're going to create a cylinder, and we are going to place it inside. I'm going to go to the top and kind of get that centered as the best we can. And you can hit the 4 key if you want to see a little bit better, but I like the 5 key so I can see the bottom of that container. And so let's go ahead and scale it up to not quite filling the milk, the pitcher. So you can see that there's the bottom, and I got a gap there. Okay, we don't want to get too close. Okay. Alright, so with that done, then I'm going to go to the side view and pull that down. You can see where the glass is right there. Okay. Let's go to the front view. That'd be a little bit better. Okay, so, and then the cylinder, we're going to go ahead and scale that up like that. Again, we're going to see where that glass is in the bottom. There's the bottom of the glass. Cannot interpenetrate those two. So I'm going to click on the cube, or excuse me, the cylinder again. And there's the bottom of the pitcher. So I'm going to go in here and just move that down. We'll get close to the bottom, but we don't want it to hit or touch. Okay, alright, that looks good. So we want it to be a little taller, so I'm going to go ahead and move the vertices up. So this will, because what happens is that the particles are going to fall, and they don't give you very many particles. So we go about twice, I think I did. Just a little, something like that. Don't worry if you don't get it all, and we don't have to fill the glass all the way up. So something like that would work. Okay, like that. And then we want to do is take the top off. So I'm just going to go ahead and select the top row like that and delete. There we go. And hit the Q key. There we go. And then go back into object mode. So make sure you click on object mode. So it's really, really important that we don't have any anything on here. And I may not want to keyframe this until I do the simulation. I'm not sure if I haven't keyframed before. I've never keyframed before simulation, so I'm not sure if that's going to cause any issues or problems. So if it does, that's the issue. So we might have to delete that. So anyway, so let's go ahead and just leave it as is. And we're going to go in here to, let's go back to end particles. Let's go and make sure I'm just showing FX only. There we go. So end particles, and we want to go and create options, make sure it's on water. It sets it up at point. Let's go ahead and make sure we create options to set to water, so we don't have to mess around with that. And then end particles, fill object, and there we go. Fills the object, and you can see they kind of pop out the edge or the bottom. So that's why I left that little space there. I knew that was going to happen. So there we go. Oh, what I need to do is go Control Z back. I need to do a little more than the usual. So I'm going to go in here, select it again, go to end particles, make sure, yeah, that's selected, go to fill object, go into the option box this time. And the resolution, it starts out at 10, I want resolution at 30. Okay, alright, there's a reason for that. Because I want the particles to be a little smaller and higher resolution, so go ahead and particle fill. Okay, that looks good, close that. Particles are already ready to go. So now I need to do is just click on the cylinder, if I can. There it is. And it's no longer being used, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in a layer and turn the visibility off. You can see already it's popped out a little bit here to try to fill out the bottom, and I haven't even started the simulation yet. So the simulation should be all set, right? We set our simulation. We need to do a couple things though. We need to add a passive collider to the pitcher so it'll collide with it. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. Go to end cloth and create passive collider for the pitcher. It didn't give me any warning, so I think we're good. That's what I was worried about. And then we're gonna do that same thing with the glass. Create passive collider. And then if you do spill a little milk on the table, then we'll go ahead and go to add a passive collider on that. Okay. So first thing is I don't want the water to fly all over the place if you do miss the glass. So with the table selected, I'm going to go Control A and we'll get into the bounce and friction. So let's turn the friction up to something like 2. So it'll roll a little bit, but then it'll stop. Okay, so in this we don't want any friction at all on these. I want it to freely flow out. So I want to bring this down to about 0.05 in the glass to 0.05. Okay, let's see what happens. Glass maybe should have a little bit more friction so it doesn't spill out, but let's see what it looks like. And we might want a little bit of bounce on there. So 0.01 on the glass, just kind of let it splash around in there. That'd be kind of fun to see. We'll see. We'll play around with it. I'll do a 0.001. We'll see what happens. It's a little splash. Alright, so now we play the simulation and we get to see what happens now with all this. As you can see, why we had it tall, because it doesn't fill much in there, but that's enough. And so it's just going to bounce around in there, even though I don't have anything bouncy going on with the object itself. Okay, and you can see why I used blend, so I can see. So we need to make sure we add more of keyframes, okay, or timeline, keyframes on timeline. We need to go to like 500 to let it set. So I'm going to type in 500 at the bottom here, and so now we can play the simulation. You can see all that filling it up. Now we could have used a emitter and filled it up that way, but that would take too long. Okay, so once we let this simulate a little bit, let it calm down, we're going to go to the side view here, and I'm going to go hit the 5 key so we can see it's simulating, see if it's calmed down now. And that looks like it's calmed down, so we just want it to calm down. And we're going to stop that. But in the simulation, I need to do a couple things with the particles. So let's just make sure we got everything set up, just like we did before. Just make sure everything's looking good as far as simulation goes. Okay. So lifespan, particle size, collisions. Okay, we don't want self-collide or anything like that. Bounce, friction, stickiness, leave that alone. Dynamic properties, dampening, drag, conserve, mass. Let's go to liquid simulation. That's the most important one. That has to be on. Viscosity, let's just change to 0.15. That's what we had before, and it worked out pretty good. Surface tension at 1. That's important. There we go. So that will look more like water. Okay, I think that's it for now. Okay, just make sure we have that. Go ahead and play the simulation again. It'll act a little differently. Okay. And let me go to the side. If it lets me, it probably won't let me go to the side view while it's simulating. Let's go ahead and pause it a minute. I just need to make sure it's stopped simulating. So let's go ahead and just let it go all the way through, all the way to something like 300, just to make sure the simulation is done, flexing and contracting. Just let it sim down, settle. So once it settles, if you're comfortable with where it's settling still a little bit, it's moving around still. I'm going to go all the way to 300 and stop it. Okay. Okay, that's close enough. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and do, we need a set initial state. I don't want it settling every single time because I don't want to sit here and wait for it before we can animate it. So we're going to go ahead and set initial state. So we're going to go ahead and select particle 1. That's the particles that we have. And we're going to go to fields and solvers. And we're going to go to initial state, set for selected. Okay, initial state, set for selected. Go ahead and click on that. So now I can go back to frame 1 and you can see that it will set it right there. Okay. Okay, so we got everything set up. Now we're just ready to go ahead and pour that out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do our animation. So I'm going to select my, and we got pretty much did a dry run first. So from frame 1 to 30, we're not going to do anything. Okay, so we're going to set that keyframe up, and then from frame 30 to 60, I'm going to go ahead and move that up to, let's say, 5.172 like we had. So 5.172, so 5.172, okay? And we're going to set a key there. Alright, so we got that set up. There we go. We'll see if that's too fast. Sometimes it's too fast, so let's go ahead and simulate that and see if it follows it. Pull that up. There we go. Awesome. Okay, bouncing around in there. Okay, that's what water does. Alright, so we want to do that. We got it set up. So at frame 90, we just want it to set there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and set it. Hit S. Okay, and then we'll, from frame 90, let's see, 30, 60, 90, and 220. We'll go ahead and rotate. We don't want to go too fast. We want to keep it nice and slow, and that will be our rotational value. I have set up at 90 points, so I've written that all down, so now I got it all set up. 90.719. Okay, there we go. And we just let Maya do the rest. Hit the S key, and if that's too much time for the animation, we can change that. Alright, so let's go ahead and play the animation. Let's turn this off so you can see the fluid. Okay, get set up. It's going to bounce around a little bit. And then we'll pour it. Start pouring. Keep our fingers crossed not to spill any milk. So we'll see what happens. Looks like it's flowing out. Okay, that looks good. Ooh, almost. Yeah, got a couple of them coming out. Not too bad. Looks like it's churning around in there. Okay. The last bit. And that's it. That's the milk. Okay, so we got some pieces. I think you'll always have a little spilled milk. Don't worry, I'm not going to take off. I think it's just funny. Don't spill the milk. Alright, so there it is. Let's go to the perspective view and kind of get a camera shot of what we got so far. Alright. So you'll get graded on the simulation, you'll get graded on the texturing, and you'll get graded on the rendering and the final images, and how you set your camera up. And that's too close. You gotta see the whole thing. There we go. And we could probably go a little faster with the rotation, but I'm afraid that if you go too fast, the milk will come out too fast, and that will cause it to miss the cup entirely. So we got some milk spilling out, which is okay. I'm okay with that. Little droplets. This won't hurt anybody. I don't like them falling off the table though, so we're going to probably turn up the friction on the table. Okay. Alright, great. Cool. That's it. That's basically it. If you want to animate the picture coming back down again, you can, but that's fine the way it is. Okay, cool. Alright, so table. Let's go back into here. And nucleus on that. Oh, the table. There we go, friction. Let's go to 5.5 and see what happens there. Do the simulation one more time. Looks like we lost a piece, lost some milk coming out. I'm gonna bounce a little bit. I'm just gonna ignore that. You can spend hours trying to fix little things like that, so don't worry about that. And then we'll pour it out. Okay. It's pretty good. Some milk hits the rim. And that's fine. Comes out, spill the milk a little bit, and you can see that it kind of moved a little bit. Okay. Okay, so if you're happy with the simulation, then what you're going to want to do is you can cache it. So caching we'll do in the next video. I spent enough time right now. We got the basics. I do want to just turn that down to 0.4, and then we'll save our scene. Okay, like what we have. So this is going to be 5. This is going to be simulation. Okay, save that out. And that is it for this video, and we'll see you in the next one.